Good morning. Our hand today is pocket tens. Um, we're going to present this hand because I thought at the time that I thought I played it well. Um, but a couple hands later, I was thinking about this hand, and I'm just not quite sure I could have gotten lucky on this one. So I'm in the small blind. We're shorthanded. This is 5 NL game. Button raises 2.6. I'm going to assume he's going to be raising pretty wide. I only have two hands on him, so his third hand at the table. I'm just going to give him a pretty wide range, and then it's on me. I'm going to 3-bet, and this is kind of my 3-bet range versus like unknowns. You could probably get rid of some of these and add a couple more Broadway hands, but this is what I was going with for 10. So I 3-bet to 10. And I think the sizing, it could have gone a little bit larger. It could have gone to like 11 or 12, since I am out of position. But I did 10 because his initial raise size was a little bit lower at 2.6, instead of like a standard three big blind open. So I raise 3-bet to 10 big blinds, and he calls. So I don't think he's calling with his entire range. So I kind of narrowed it down. I got rid of some of these junky hands, especially suited, and then some of the junky offsuit hands that I had in there. But I'm still gonna leave him with fairly wide range here, and it's possible that this is still too wide. I just think at this 5 NL game, there are a lot of people that will make this call. So we're gonna do this first and see how it looks, and then what we're going to do is change it up, and we're going to start with that range and say versus that 3-bet, he's really going to be tightening up, and really just call pocket pairs, get rid of his hands. And I included like ace king queen, ace king. I kind of think they'd 4-bet, but I think the 5 NL game tends to slow play a little bit. So, I think what we can do is really narrow his range and say he's only going to be calling with something tight like that. So first up, so flop comes down, ace 8-7, and it's on me. Do I c-bet? Do I not c-bet? And this is kind of one of those positions that you can find yourself in it as a tight player where you have a pocket pair, below the top card. Do you fire out another c-bet or do you not? I think since this is a 3-bet pot, I'm going to lean on remaining the aggressor because I could easily have aces. I could easily have these, some of these suited aces and end up with top pair, and I think I'd probably bet a lot of them. So I did c-bet. I bet half pot, and he calls. Now, what is he calling with? So we're going to do ace of hearts, 8 of clubs, 7 of diamonds. So the question is, what are we trying to accomplish with our bet? I think Villain could call us with, an 8. He could call us with a 7. Does he necessarily have them in his range? Maybe 9-8, maybe 7-6 suited. But I'm also thinking pocket pairs. He might call. I see a lot of people call. I don't have his c-bet stats here, but I see a lot of people call with just a pocket pair because they don't believe that I hit a pair. So I'm thinking with here, I'm gonna probably need 2 barrels on to pick up the pot, and try to get some of the hands to fold that I have beat. I'm also thinking I do have some value with 10s. I could be ahead of all of his. I could be ahead of 9s. I could be ahead of his 7, his 8s, his lower pocket pairs, and any draw that he might have. So maybe he has 9-10, maybe he has 10 jack, and he's going to call hoping to hit the gut shot. So 3 comes out on the turn. That obviously doesn't change the board much. Doesn't really hit anyone's draws. So I did fire out another half pot bet. And he folded. So let's take a look at our GTO. All right, so I've got it. There's my range. That's his range. We will probably take out kings plus ace king, and run it one more time, and then we'll run the other range. So versus this range, GTO suggesting we do c-bet 64% of the time. We do have quite a few checks. Those checks, I'm gonna guess, are I was gonna say like the non-backdoor flush draws, but like that's not necessarily the case. You are favoring to bet a little bit. I guess a little bit more than 50%. You're checking with, the clubs, with the diamonds, all those backdoor flush draws. You're betting two pair. You're ace seven, queen seven. You're betting the bottom pair 7-6. You're betting tens, so I like that. We're checking trip aces, so I guess that kind of makes sense because we block a whole lot of aces here. If we check and he bets, are we going to 3-bet? No, we're going to be calling with trip aces. So let's say we call, and we're going to say 3 of spades. We still check with aces. If he bets, we still check with trip aces. I guess we're just trapping with that. So so we are checking with aces, and we're checking with kings. And I think this is I think it's more important here to check kings because we could be behind aces than it is checking queens, jacks, and tens. Basically, the weaker your pair, the more you have to, quote unquote, protect your hand by betting. If they fold out king, queen, hey, that's great for you because that means you've picked up their equity. I mean, they had 6 outs on you, so I like my bet. So I like the fact that I did bet. What about the aces? So ace seven, ace jack, all of those good ones are checking. King queen, looks like we are going to be somewhat betting with all of our backdoor flush draws. All right, so we bet. What's villain supposed to be doing? He's supposed to be calling all of his aces. He's supposed to be calling any of his mid cards that kind of hit straights. So it looks like he's calling 50% of the time, but he's folding 44.9%. So right there, we probably, we're getting just auto profit at that point because I think he's over folding. So let's say he does play GTO like. He calls. And then on the turn, we had the 3 of spades, correct? 3 of spades. Now what do? Now GTO saying we should check with our tens. We still fire out top pair, good kicker. We're checking our top pair, little kicker, somewhat betting, a little bit betting. Like ace 5, we're going to lean towards betting. Ace 4 looks like we're leaning towards betting. I think we're doing that because we have some blockers. Betting our 2 pair, still betting our bottom pair. So, why do the 7? Well, probably because we have some value. So if we check and he bets, he said, GTO says we're going to fold tens. We're going to fold jacks at that point. I understand the king queen. Do I understand tens and jacks? I think we expose ourselves to being bluffed. I think we expose ourselves to being bluffed, but how many bluff hands does he actually have? A lot of his bluff hands are going to be the draws. So even if we call, he's still going to have quite a bit of equity because he can hit his draw on the turn, and then we're probably going to pay him off because if we don't believe that he has an ace on the turn, probably not going to believe he hit something on the river. Depends on what he has. So revising our plan right now, I like the c-bet, but it looks like we probably should have checked that turn. All right, let's go back and change this and say, okay, I 3-bet. I think he would have 4-bet kings plus ace king. Let's do queens plus ace king. We'll leave ace queen as it's just a call. So I'll just build tree. All right, we're gonna run the solver and we'll come back when it's done. All right, so it ran. Still looks like we are betting. Basically the same hands. So I like that. Villains basically calling with the same type of hands. Got 3 of spades. And then I have, I should be checking again. So just, out of curiosity. So, I did bet. I do have some 10s that bet. So it's probably not a horrid bet here. I'm going to go back to here and check aces and kings still. It's not a horrible bet, but we could probably do better. So I did bet. Villain's going to be folding a lot of these hands, these gut shots. Are they gut shots? Yep, 9 jack, jack 10. Or he should be folding those gut shots, and he probably does fold those gut shots. He's calling with aces. He's folding some of his ace weak kicker hands, which I'm not sure if any of these players would. So I bet he folds. And you can see now that with his range, he's calling at a much higher frequency at 70%, so it's probably no longer a auto profit spot. He's only folding 30%. Typically, with a high half pot bet, I need him to fold more than that. But hey, that it is what it is. So I'm going to change it. We are going to say that I checked this, and let's say villain bet. Now it looks like we are folding our 10s. So I think probably standard. In the last time when he had the queens plus, it said we were going to check call. Now it looks like we are actually check folding our 10s. Pretty high frequency. So okay, so let's go back and let's say we bet and he calls. Let's set up, let's just say 2 of hearts first. I am definitely supposed to be checking 10s. So I think the C bet's good, but then betting the turn isn't that good. And then it just gets even worse if I bet the river. Let's change this to a 5. Still checking. We should be checking the 10s. Let's say this was like a queen. Ooh, now we bet. So let's do 9s. Nope, 9s we check. 10s we hit trips, so we're betting those. What about jacks? Check with the jacks. We're betting with the 10s. Checking with when the king comes out. I don't think suit matters. So we bet the queens, but we don't bet when the Broadway hits. Why the queens? Miss the straight. Could have we could have ace king, ace queen. Would he only have like king queen? Probably not. Maybe that queen blocks some other hands. That's strange. All right, so it looks like play really should have been C bet, which I did, and then check fold versus this range, and I'm gonna guess probably against the other range. So let's go back here and say I'd say he is a pretty tight player. He opened widely. I 3-bet, and then he really tightens up. He's going to go for some set mines. He's going to go for some, hopefully some suited connectors, straight flush type draws. And let's see how that changes our our solve. So I'm going to run the solver. All right, solver finished up. So we have his tighter range. We are c-betting, and we're c-betting at a much higher frequency now. We do have some aces that we're going to c-bet, some kings that we're going to c-bet, just because he has a much, much tighter range. I think we are going for value with the kings and queens. Definitely going for value. We're not going to be scared that he has aces, because he doesn't really have a whole lot of these offsuit aces. He's got suited aces, ace jack, offsuit ace jack, and that's it. So we're going to hope that with the kings and queens, he's going to call with jacks or tens or nines, and get us some money. So I think that's kind of interesting. Tight range, much tighter range without the suited aces. We're going to be c-betting many more hands, including kings and queens. So we c-bet. He's supposed to call his aces, mid cards, and then fold his pocket pairs and stuff. So if he plays GTO, and he calls, then on the turn we are again supposed to check with the tens. So I would, again, it just looks like c-bet was good, but then the turn I should have checked it. Now if I checked and he bets, it looks like we are check folding again with the tens, sometimes calling with jacks and queens and kings. But we didn't. So let's say we bet. Let's say he calls again. And then, we're not betting the tens, so that's out. Let's change this up. I think a lot of players are, instead of folding those hands, are going to be calling the pocket pairs. Maybe not like 2s, 3s, 4s, but I think they're going to be calling those pocket pairs. So let's see what. All right, solver's done. So we bet. Basically, we're betting 100% because we know he's going to call. And then he calls. And now it looks like if he's calling with those pairs, then we're mostly betting. So, I guess it's going to come down to, the player itself, how does he play? What kind of hands is he going to call? Can't really fault my play too much, because I do think a lot of our players will be calling those just to keep honest. They've got a pair. I don't really know what else he's going to call, especially with the weaker opponents. But as I move up, as I play the 10 NL, the 25 NL game, I'm going to be playing against opponents that have the discipline to fold these small pocket pairs. No problem. So let's change these to a fold. Let's say he folds 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s. Doesn't understand, doesn't realize, what he has. So let's run that and see what it looks like. All right, so still bet. He's calling wide. So we'll make the bet, and then let's say he calls. And then we are having a little bit, we're betting tens less frequently. So, why would we be betting tens to get nines, tens, jacks to fold? I think we get some value by getting them to fold out their equity. But if we check and he bets, we're folding our tens. It's probably just good to say we're going to check fold. Assume players don't bluff enough. They don't take advantage of when we c-bet and then check the turn. Obviously, we're going to have some pretty decent hands. We're going to have our aces, our top pair hands, and we're going to be calling with those. We're going to call with ace 2, ace 4, ace 5, ace 6. So we're going to have quite a few hands that will protect us from that check. And I think those are probably hands that we do want to check, that we are looking to check, because we have some equity, top pair equity, but we don't want to bet and have a higher ace call us. We're just building up a big pot. It's probably just check call at that point. So, we check, he bets, we call. Let's say 2 hearts, we check 100%. Let's say he bets again. We're still calling with those top pair. We're trying to keep him honest because he could possibly have that straight. So even though as we start adding in some of his calls here, these small pocket pairs, when we added them in and we had nines, tens, jacks in his calling range, it does look like then we're going to be betting again on the turn. And his proper play then is to fold the pairs that he has. All right, hopefully you enjoy this. If you did, we'll look tomorrow at other hands, and hopefully we're really just kind of learning as we go, kind of getting a better feel for our post flop play. Have a good one.